When we think of the great villains from the Final Fantasy series, we often think of world destroyers or godlike figures. But in 1991, Final Fantasy IV introduced a different kind of threat, Golbez. He represents a major shift in the series' narrative, marking the first time a primary antagonist was defined by a complex psychological profile, a direct blood relation to one of the heroes, and a massive redemption arc. Golbez is more than just a powerful sorcerer in black armor. He is a tragic figure whose life serves as a lesson on the fragility of identity and the heavy burden of atonement. Today, we are going deep into the lunar shadows to analyze the man behind the mask. Originally born as Theodor, to understand his history, his trauma, and how he reclaimed his soul from the darkness. To really understand Golbez, we have to go back to a time before the armor, to a boy named Theodor. Theodor was born from a union of two distinct worlds. His father, Kluya, was a Lunarian traveler from the Red Moon, and his mother, Cecilia Harvey, was a human woman from the Blue Planet. This mixed heritage is vital to his character. It gave him immense magical capacity, but it also made him a biological conduit for telepathic communication, a trait that would later be weaponized against him. Theodor's early childhood was defined by witnessing his father's altruism and the betrayal that followed. Kluya shared the secrets of magic and technology with humanity, but he was eventually denounced by factions who wanted to use that power for war. A young Theodor watched his father take a mortal blow. In a moment that would haunt him for decades, the boy tried to cast a cure spell to save him, but he failed. This established a foundational sense of inadequacy and helplessness. This trauma was compounded shortly after when his mother Cecilia died during the birth of his younger brother Cecil. Left in absolute isolation and grief, Theodor's mind became vulnerable to the telepathic influence of Zemus, a malevolent Lunarian imprisoned on the moon. Zemus didn't just create evil, he bonded his thoughts with Theodor's, magnifying the boy's natural resentment and whispering the lie that baby Cecil was the sole cause of their mother's death. The transition from the grieving boy Theodor to the tyrant Golbez was a systematic erosion of the self. Driven by Zemus' whispers, Theodor committed what would become his original sin. He abandoned the infant Cecil near the borders of Baron. This act was an attempt to exercise his own capacity for love and vulnerability by casting away the brother who reminded him of his pain. He fled into the borderlands to escape his guilt, but Zemus followed. Eventually, the Theodor persona was fully suppressed, and he was given the name Golbez, a title designed to inspire terror. As the primary antagonist of Final Fantasy IV, Golbez is a scarily competent military leader. After the true king of Baron was replaced by the fiend Cognazio, Golbez took command of the Red Wings. His strategy was a mix of overwhelming magic and sophisticated psychological warfare. He mirrored Zemus' tactics by finding hooks in others, such as exploiting Cain Highwind's jealousy of Cecil to turn him into a pawn. Throughout the game, he acts as an unstoppable force, a dark reflection of what Cecil might have become if he had stayed a Dark Knight. From a psychological perspective, Golbez is the literalized shadow of Cecil Harvey. In Jungian psychology, the shadow represents the part of our personality we reject or hide. While Cecil's journey is about moving from darkness to light, Golbez represents the tragedy of a man consumed by his shadow before he could integrate it. A crucial insight into his self-worth is found in Zemus' taunts, calling him an insect born from a dragon's corpse. His father, Kluya, was the dragon, a being of immense power. After Kluya's death, Theodor saw himself as a parasitic, worthless creature. Zemus exploited this lack of self-worth to convince him that his only value was in serving the Lunarian cause. His high capacity for magic and his Lunarian blood didn't protect him. Instead, they provided the infrastructure for his subjugation. This makes his story a cautionary tale about the corruption of the gifted. Really, the breaking point for Golbez comes during the events at the Giants of Babel, when Fusoya finally breaks Zemus' mind control. In that moment, Theodor regains his sense of self. In the sequel, The After Years, we see the completion of his redemption arc. Now known as the Man in Black, he has discarded his spike armor for a minimalist Lunarian attire and prayer beads. This symbolizes the shedding of the persona, the mask of the Dark Lord, and the emergence of this true self as a protector. His personality here is stoic and sardonic, but he is fundamentally a guardian. The climax of his redemption occurs when he faces the Dark Knight, a manifestation of Cecil's negative emotions and Theodor's own past sins. The Dark Knight accuses him of wanting to die to escape his guilt. Theodor doesn't deny it. Instead, he takes a mortal blow intended for Cecil, finally performing the act of self-sacrifice he couldn't do for his father years before. In the Deciduous series, Golbez is portrayed as a double agent, working from the shadows to test and guide the heroes of light because he believes himself stained with the darkness beyond the point of salvation. His signature armor and his summon, the Shadow Dragon, are physical reminders of his journey. The dragon represents the predatory nature of his possession, while his Man in Black weapon, the Ebony Blade, represents a man who has mastered his darkness rather than trying to destroy it. Golbez stands as a character of profound narrative density. He proves that even those who have committed heinous acts while clad in darkness can find their way back, provided they have the courage to live with their past. His final departure to the stars is not an escape, but a noble duty, to stand as the Watcher of the Moon, ensuring his family's legacy is never eclipsed by hatred again.